So now we ask, what was around before the universe began?
Yes.
I do not know if that's an authentic question.
Do we have an idea about the birth and death of the universe based on our own biological limitations? Not that we're not measuring, not that there's not a keen understanding of the radio frequency from the Big Bang and all, but just the idea. Do we put a limitation? Do we think of the idea of the universe beginning or ending based on our own idea of life and death, that these things must apply to all things that we see?
No, because until 1930s, we had no idea the universe would have a beginning. It was assumed, other than biblical account, scientifically, the universe just simply always was. There was no evidence for that, but we had no reason to think any other way about it. And so we didn't force the universe to have a beginning because that felt good to us. You're not going to do that unless you have authentic justification for it. So just no one really talked about it. I have books from that period. There is no chapter on cosmology. It ends with the starry skies of the night, and starting with the discussion of the planets. And it doesn't even go there because it doesn't know to go there until you have data forcing the question.
There wasn't enough information.
Correct. And then we say, oh my gosh, the universe is expanding, discovered by Hubble in 1929. That means it's bigger today than it was yesterday. It's bigger yesterday than it was the day before. Let's run the clock back.
What about...
Could all the universe have been in the same place at the same time? That meant it might have had a beginning. That's what started...
Say that again?
If we're expanding,
right,
run the clock back, we were smaller in the past. Could the whole universe been in the same place at the same time at some distant point? If it was, that means the universe had a beginning. That's when the whole conversation began about the universe having a beginning. It had nothing to do with the fact that we're born and we live out our lives and die. It had nothing to do with that. So now we have a beginning, but what was around before the beginning? That's an important and interesting question. I don't know. I should say that differently. That is a question, an English language sentence question. I do not know if that question has any more or less meaning than asking Santa Claus which way is north.
When we look at the Big Bang and we look at the fact that the universe is expanding and they know that there was some sort of an event, by measuring how exactly do they measure the radio frequencies that come from the Big Bang? Like what's the
it's microwave. It's microwave, and it's really not as deep as you might want to think it is. So do you realize you can't see through the sun?
Right.
The sun is not transparent to visible light, because visible light, when it enters the sun is made of plasma, which is a gas where electrons have been ripped into the soup. So you have free-moving electrons and atoms, and it's a soup. The atoms are not part of the electrons are not part of the atoms. The consequence of that is light interacts heavily with free electrons. So you try to move light through a plasma, and the light sees an electron, it careens off of it. And it does not travel in a straight line. It bounces and careens and scatters. And so by the time the light comes out the other side, you lost all hope of any information about what was on the other side of the star or on the other side of that plasma. Okay. So the early universe was very hot. You can calculate what those temperatures must have been. So hot that all atoms are ionized and the whole universe is plasma. So light is just bouncing around within the universe. In fact, a lot of visible light is doing this. Then the universe expands and cools. The electrons combine with the atoms. All of a sudden, the beam of light is no longer batted to and fro by these free electrons. And you reach a point where the universe clears, and it becomes transparent to the passage of light. In that moment, all the light that was contained in that fireball now moves free across the universe. That light, for the last 14 billion years, has been expanding with the expanding universe, and the energy of the visible light is now microwaves. You point a microwave telescope in any direction, it is bathed in microwaves from that event.
Whoa. Now, when you're measuring something that is the estimated date of the Big Bang is 13.8 billion years.
Billion years ago, right.
Is that
October 3rd.
is that the amount that they can measure, or is there a potential further point that can't be measured?
So we see objects that sent their light to us basically 14 billion years ago. How about objects farther away than that? There are surely objects farther away, but the universe isn't old enough yet for its light to reach us.
Whoa. So it's possible that things are far, far more distant.
We could be living in an infinite universe, but all we have access to is our little bubble. And so every year goes by,
we get a little more data.
The bubble gets 1 light year larger.
Oh, wow.
And we see a little bit more of whatever universe is out there. Now, here's what makes it like lose sleep deep. Okay, you ready?
Oh, boy, I love these.
Okay, so how is it we can see the birth of the universe? That already happened. It's because it takes light time to travel. We look out 13.8 billion light years ago, we are seeing galaxies being born. Okay. Wait a billion years. Now these galaxies are 1 billion years older. They're no longer being born. In fact, they're not giving us this light that I was telling you about that became microwaves. But wait a minute. The universe is now 15 billion years old. I can now see objects that have given their light to me from 15 billion years ago. They are now being born. I'm seeing them being. So as long as there is a universe out there, and as long as the whole universe had the same birth date, which all evidence points to, I will always see evidence of the Big Bang.
Whoa.
Because that information is always fresh to us from a distance whose light only just now reached us. So what you're going to look for is the day when this expanding horizon washes over nothing. If this expanding horizon moves and there's no galaxies there and there's nothing, then all the information about the formation of the universe goes away. And the Big Bang no longer has anybody telling us it is going through a Big Bang.